Well, 6 games in, one Mississippi State star has stood above the rest. Who's been the heartbeat of this Bulldog offense?
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. My name is Jaron Spor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. We've got a fun show for you today. We're going to go with our offensive and defensive MVP at the halfway mark of the season. Also, we're going to tell you what to look forward to in Starkville. Obviously, usually we would give our segment, but there's no game this week. So you have to stick around to see what we talk about a little later on in the show. But first, let's start with the offensive MVP. Landon, who takes the crown?
For me and anyone who's listened to me talk, this is not going to be surprising in the least. Going with Fluff. I mean, he really has led this offense. And I mean, how many carries do you have? 84 carries through 6 games, 465 yards, already has 6 touchdowns, and 7 receptions for 37 yards. I mean, he's been the best player on the field every game, really. I mean, some of his stats have been crazy a couple games,
Yeah, and it was great to hear that he was they got a positive report on his injury and that he won't miss the season. So that was obviously big.
Great.
So Landon and I usually don't talk about stuff beforehand, but this one we actually had to because I was like, I don't want us to talk about the same player and just have a whole segment on the same player. Because I probably would have went with I definitely would have went with Fluff because I think he's been that good. But there are some other guys that need some recognition, and I'm going to kind of do a tandem here because and that's a little cheating, but I'm going with Brennan Thompson and Anthony Evans.
Yeah. Just
because they're so comparable. Thompson has 378 yards, Evans has 364, 4 touchdowns for Thompson, 2 for Evans, 22 catches for Thompson, 31 for Evans. So they're just really comparable, and I wanted to give them credit because we came into the year not knowing much about the wide receiver room other than they were fast. That's all we do.
Sometimes I think that's all we still know.
Yeah, right. But not a lot of production from the guys, and so it was kind of like, okay, what are we going to see from this team, from this receiving group? Because we needed obviously a big improvement from the season before, which they had, really good receivers, but you lost several of the key ones. And so I just think they came in, and first off, Thompson with his leadership that we mentioned so many times in the offseason really stood out to me. And then both of them have come out and have put in the work on the field. I mean, Thompson with his 378 yards, he started like 11 out of the 13 games or whatever for Oklahoma last year, and he had only 230 yards last year, and he had 378 already this year. So you've seen a much improved player already.
Yeah, you have. And Thompson's been a big play. I mean, both of them, but especially Thompson has been just a big play waiting to happen. Seems like every game he busts one for 40, 50 yards. Evans, he's been good. And what I'm about to say is not meant as a dig at him. He's been a different receiver than I expected him to be. Because you expect him to almost be like Thompson, just this big, fast, take the top off type of guy.
But he's bigger than I would thought.
He's kind of been working underneath a little bit more and making just those tough catches that you have to make. And it's been interesting to watch that because all you hear about him is his speed.
Right.
And then he comes in and obviously the speed is there, but normally guys with speed and that are slightly undersized aren't the guys that are just going over the middle for 8 yards.
Right.
So, but I mean, he's been great, and it's been a pleasant surprise that he filled that role, because that was a role I was kind of wondering who was going to fill, and it turns out, the other fast guy can do it.
Yeah, and my biggest question mark with him was his size, and then obviously he didn't have a ton of production, and he couldn't even get on the field with a bad Georgia receiving group. But the weird thing about him is he looks bigger on the field than what he's listed at. Like, he doesn't look small out there,
No.
but then you look at his stuff, and you're like, oh, but he is kind of small. It's just it's weird. But no, those two have been outstanding. And then Fluff, again, what more can you say about the season he's had? Because Booth came back, and Booth was a really good player last year, and he's been really good so far this year. He's averaging 4.5 yards a carry, 266 yards, and 4 touchdowns. But Bothwell's been even better. I mean, 5.5 yards a carry, 6 touchdowns, 465 yards, like you mentioned. I mean, it's honestly been remarkable seeing him play this year because we knew he was good. I don't know if we knew how good because we were talking about them two being two of the better duos in the country, and I think they've more than lived up to that.
Yeah, and it makes you feel good when we hyped up this transfer pretty much since day one of this podcast. And then when he gets on the field, is he second or third in the conference in rushing? I know he's like top 2 or 3. I know who won.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
He's up there with all these touchdowns, and he doesn't have the running style that usually leads someone in yardage because it's such a bruising running style that
right.
You don't expect the guy running over people to rack up that many yards, but he has just been so good. I mean, trying to do a little math off top of head, he's a little over halfway. He's got about 370 yards or so to break what he got last year at South Alabama, his first year in SEC play. So if he comes back, only misses a game or two, then that's a legitimate thing he could do. His first year in the SEC, he could rush for more yards than he did in South Alabama.
Yeah, that's the biggest question. How long is he going to be out? Because Lebby didn't really specify. Now the availability reports help. Once they're back in the SEC play, we'll actually get to know that stuff, so that'll be good. But so that's my big question mark with him. But yeah, I mean, I think my best compliment I can give him is doesn't seem like he ever goes backwards.
No.
Even the times he gets hit in the backfield, it seems like he still gets a yard out of it or gets back to the line of scrimmage. And that's huge when you have an offensive line that has not been great this year and has kind of struggled, and for you to kind of limit those negative plays. Now, the negative plays happened a lot against A&M. Something Lebby mentioned, they averaged 3rd and 11 in the game, which is insane to think about. But it wasn't really Fluff that was causing that at all.
Really? No, it wasn't. And this is a comp I just came up with off the fly. I don't know why. I think I saw some of this guy's highlights yesterday, and I was like, you know what? They run the same. Fluff reminds me of Marion Barber.
Yeah, that's a good one. Rest in peace.
Yes, the Barbarian. The man never went down, never shied away from contact. And they kind of run similar size too. Yeah. So I could see that kind of, that's just what he reminds me of. And like you said, he never goes down. He's going to fight forward. And if he tackle him for a loss, it's not because he gave up.
Right. Yeah, no. And I've been just so impressed by him because you're going from, lower Power 5 program to which, South Alabama has been a decent Power 5 program, but they're still a Power 5 program to the SEC. Group of 5. I keep saying Power 5, Group of 5, because now it's the Power 4. It's not even the Power 5 anymore. Group of 5 program. And then you come into the SEC and you're playing against one of the toughest schedules in college football. You don't have this elite offensive line either, and you're still putting up big time numbers. And, he's on track for just under 1,000 yards this year. Now, obviously the injury will dictate if he's able to accomplish that or not. But yeah, no, he's just been remarkable. And the wide receiver group has been remarkable. Honestly, the offense, it's so funny because we talked about how disappointed we were in the offense, not taking that big step. But there are several players that have taken that big step.
Yeah, one of them, Albert Reese. He has been the linchpin of the offensive line, which has been much improved, still not great, but he has been very good. They played him a couple different positions, and so he's another guy who's taken a big step that it's hard to say an offensive lineman has been an MVP, but he would be in he would get some down the ballot votes.
Well, and I will say it was very noticeable that he was not on the field against A&M. Very noticeable. So, it's hard to give an offensive lineman MVP, but when it's that noticeable that when you're not on the field, maybe we should have rethought our
conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Because again, their defense line is very good, but it helps when your best offensive line isn't
It does.
on the football field. So, all right, coming up next, we will give our defensive MVP award out. Who is that? We'll talk about it. Well, it's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Mississippi State, this one's a hard one because it was not a good game whatsoever. But I'm going to end up going with Kelley Jones. I thought he delivered in a big way just because he had, obviously, the interception. He was tasked with guarding two of the best wide receivers in college football. He had the one bad, DPI, but it wasn't necessarily super bad because it was going to be a touchdown, likely, if he didn't do it. Other than that, I thought he held his own and played really good football in that game. But if you've been watching week after week, his performance wasn't a fluke. He's been on a streak this whole season. And just like Kelley Jones delivered for Mississippi State, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply, promo period through November 18th. And the NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I know a lot of people love FanDuel. It gives them so many ways to play. They've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon, who would be your defensive MVP for the season?
Well, you actually teased it in that DoorDash ad. Kelley Jones, like you mentioned, that interception.
I like that one. Good pick.
You called it before the season. He's been very good. He's been tasked with a lot of tough assignments this year, and I mean, he's really stepped up big. I mean, we talked a lot about what he did in the Arizona State game against Tyson. Pretty much shut him down. Had the interception last week, which is a tough call, whether he was on Carver or Concepcion. No, it's a tough draw, and he played very well throughout that game. This team would not be where they were if he wasn't playing to the level he was playing.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one. I kind of was going back and forth, and Isaac Smith is obviously the easy one. Yeah. He's not been as good as he was last year, but he's still really good. And you didn't notice that he wasn't on the team for very long, like on the field on Saturday until the fourth quarter. That's when you really could start noticing it. And you did notice his leadership and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think he's the easy one. I also looked at Nick Mitchell. He's had a really good year at linebacker, but then I actually looked at the stats and I was shocked to see, who's leading them in tackles this year? And it's not surprising because he's around the football every time you watch him, but
Jennings?
It's Jahron Manning.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I would have thought.
Yeah, he's always around the football, but I don't really ever just think, he had a ton of tackles.
Yeah.
Obviously last game he was my MVP for that. I'm going to give it to him again as the defensive MVP. He leads the team with 40 tackles, which is 10 more than the next highest, which is Nick Mitchell. He has an interception for 21 yards. I think he's been outstanding at safety this year.
Yeah, he has played really well. And I think that's one of the things you can say most. Safety is one of those positions you don't notice really unless they're playing bad. So the fact we're not just constantly bringing him up probably says a lot about how well he's playing, because that's that position. It's kind of like guard. You don't notice a guard's bad unless he's getting blown up on every play. Right. So, that's a great one.
If you don't hear a DB getting named, it's probably a good sign.
Yeah. So
typically. Unless it's an interception or something, then obviously that's good.
But that's a great one. There's been and you mentioned Isaac Smith, and that is easy to pick him just because he is such a leader of this team.
Yeah, right.
But he does so many things that don't like show up in the stat.
Right.
When you're looking at box score, you don't see his impact. So, I mean, he's always the MVP, honestly. Like, I mean, him called for the team, he probably is the MVP. But
yeah,
when you're doing kind of like performance based, you got to look somewhere else. And Manning played very well so far.
Yeah, no, he's been outstanding this year. And, he transferred in from Old Dominion this offseason, which he had 85 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss last year, 3 interceptions as well. And so he's bumping up in terms of competition, but he's played his best in the best games, in my opinion. He had 9 tackles against Arizona State, 6 tackles against Tennessee, and that's where his interception came from, and then 13 tackles against Texas A&M. So those are your 3 biggest games, and he's risen to the occasion.
Yeah, he really has. And I will say, I think if it wasn't for an injury, Will Whitson would be in this conversation with how we saw him play before his injury. He was on a tear, and it would probably be hard for either of us not to pick him if he kept playing.
Yeah, right.
For that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other guys, I think Calvin Dinkins has had a very good start to his year.
Yeah.
He's, when you're a big defensive tackle like he is, you're not going to put up huge stats. He does have 14 tackles and a sack, but I mean, he's in the backfield a lot, which is what you want from that position. You're not necessarily the one that's going to be cleaning up, but it's almost every play that you hear, oh, Dinkins caused that, he's the name that gets credit for blowing it up. So he's had a very good start to his year.
And I like Zachary Tillman too. I think he's had an outstanding year. He's another guy that I don't think his stats say how good he's actually played, because he's a guy that's always around the football.
And he's really coming on lately, like over the last couple of games.
Right.
Hard to see him take that step.
Yeah, right. All right, coming up next up in Starkville, we'll kind of give you some things we're looking forward to. Don't go anywhere.
This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. And this week's moment that moved the game forward is, I'm giving it to Brennan Thompson and his big 44-yard touchdown pass. It was late in the game and things were starting to get out of hand a little bit, but that did give the team a little bit of spark. Ultimately didn't mean much in terms of the score, but it did. You could see on the team, it gave him a spark. And Thompson is someone that we talked about all the time about his leadership, moving this team forward and just really helping this team move forward. So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved.
All right. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right. So usually in this segment, we would give our predictions for the game. I'm predicting a 30-0 blowout of bye week this week. So I'm picking a big win. Landon, what else are you looking forward to in Starkville for the weekend or early next week?
First thing I'm looking forward to is kind of a little bit of a stress-free Saturday. We don't have to worry what's going to happen, especially after these last couple games.
Right.
It'll be nice to have kind of a breather from that before getting back into it. I mean, obviously bye weeks typically come with some kind of recruiting news.
Right.
We don't know anything hard about who's visiting where or who's coming for a visit, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get something coming out of this. And even if it's more decommitments based off of the 5-year rule that we talked about yesterday, I wouldn't be surprised if we hear a little bit of something on the recruiting front coming out of this weekend.
Yeah, and usually in the bye week, I'm assuming, I haven't been able to find if they are, but I would assume they are. Usually you don't know until Friday night, so later on tonight. But usually over the bye week, the players kind of practice early in the week, and then they go home or go wherever, and the coaches get out on the recruiting trail. So they go see high school games and things like that. So we should know a lot more kind of who they're targeting. If it's a guy that, that's not committed, that's still trying to decide, or maybe it's just going to see some guys that are already committed. And that will be a good tell too. If they go see a guy that's committed that then that means that he's not going to be one that they end up having to move off of, most likely at least. I'm curious to see what ends up happening there. There's also I'm just excited to get the team back. I love bye weeks, but I hate bye weeks. Like, I love them because just because the team needs it a lot of times. It usually, they always say, comes at the right time. In a lot of ways it does.
Yeah, I think this is a good time for this team.
One, especially with Fluff's injury. Like, I think it's a really good time. But on the flip side, it's like I get in this rhythm of watching them every week. Then I'm like, oh, what time are they playing? Oh, they're not playing. Okay, I got to figure out something else to do. But if there's a week that a team doesn't play, this would be a good one because there's so many good college football games. So used to, this would be like the mid-season rivalry week, and then they would have an end of the season rivalry week. And it's still somewhat that way, but not as much as it used to be. But yeah, there's still several really good games. So I think I kind of just agree with you that I think the things that I want to know most are coming on the recruiting trail. What are the coaches? Where are they going? What players are they prioritizing? Is there, any kind of commitments that happen, decommitments happen, like we talked about? I think that's the most important stuff.
Yeah, we'll find out about that. And this did come at a good time. These last two games have been grueling, both for how they've ended, just how physical they've been, even without the injuries. So having a week off, and also it's pretty much right in the middle of the season, which is a great place for coaches to be able to kind of evaluate what has happened and get a little bit of extra time that they can implement some new tweaks to either offense or defense. So I'm not saying we're going to see a new team coming out of the bye week, but maybe one that's a little bit closer to the Arizona State game than what we watched last week.
Well, and another thing, usually you see the team do is over the bye week, the coaches get together and like, all right, let's go through every single thing. What do we do well? What are we not doing well? And then they kind of just start shifting the game plan more to the things that they do really well. Because before that, like, yeah, you try, but you don't have time to sit down and evaluate the season. You have to evaluate the next opponent. And you're like, hey, they struggle with this. We do this, so we're going to run this. But they might not run it well. And so now that's something that they can go evaluate and say, okay, we don't do this well, so let's stop doing this. Okay, the offensive line keeps getting beat. We need to figure out ways to maybe roll the pocket or have a running back in there to chip or, different things to get the ball out fast, just stuff like that to really help them out. I think one of the things, they needed to become more of a run-oriented team, personally, because we saw against A&M when they ran it early, they ran all over A&M. And as soon as they stopped trying to run the football,
it stopped going well.
Yeah, it stopped going well. And then they tried to go back to running it. And at that point, it was toast. A&M was keying off on it and everything. So I am curious to see what kind of tweaks they have when they come out of the bye week.
Yeah, and getting this team refocused for the rest of the season too, because this SEC schedule is a grind.
Right.
So I think we praise this coaching staff a lot for the messaging and how they're able to keep everyone on the same page. Making a few changes and get everybody on the same page going forward is going to tell us a lot about this coaching staff too.
Yeah, and if you look at their schedule, so 6 games left. They got 3 against unranked teams and 3 against ranked teams. The 3 against unranked teams are the first 3 games out of the bye week.
Yep.
So you want to get to that 6 wins. Like, now's your chance. That ends with Arkansas is the last of the 3, but it starts with Florida, but it's on the road, and then it is Texas, and I know that they're very talented. I picked them to beat Oklahoma this week. I still think by the time that game's played, if they did beat Oklahoma, they will be ranked again.
Yeah.
And then Arkansas is one that you can absolutely win. Now, Arkansas is a great offense, but not a good defense. That should be a game that you should be able to really put up a lot of points.
Yeah.
And your defense should be able to contain them enough. I don't think you can really contain that offense, because even that offense played a really good Ole Miss defense and they shredded Ole Miss's defense. So, like, I think their offense is at the point where it's really good, and it's going to take an off day like they did against Notre Dame for them to play bad.
Yeah, getting those 2 more wins, getting bowl eligible would be huge. And, coming up with a great game plan coming out of the bye week is the first step to getting there.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, it's another big moment on Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake 12, Locked On Big 12, leads the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV. I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos Monday through Friday, so check those out. Where, of course, we do pregame, postgame videos on Saturdays, but won't do it this weekend with no game. But yeah, until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.